Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Hello, is that Al out there? I see your konbanwa. Can you hear me? Hello, is that Al out there? I see your konbanwa. Can you hear me? Let me try to adjust the volume here just a little bit. All right. I'm going to test the volume again one more time. Test 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time. I'm going to test the volume. 1, 2, 3. 3, 2, 1. Live from White Rice Studios in Sasebo, Japan. How's everybody doing? Konbanwa, Sable. Let me try to adjust the volume just a little bit more. Let's see here. Okay, cool. All right, well, I've got a couple of confirmations here. So this is just going to be the first live test. I did set up a Microsoft Teams event right after this. So in a little bit, I'll go ahead and copy and paste the Teams invitation to see if everybody can join that. But barring that, I'm going to go ahead and just throw up the slides on the screen, and then I'm going to see, if we can get through a practice lesson, because this is exactly what we're going to use when I go live next week with the actual class. Okay, so first of all, 皆さんこんばんは。Hakumai Sensei desu. What's your name? I'm Hakumai Sensei, or White Rice Sensei. You can just say Hakumai Sensei desu, and in place of Hakumai Sensei, put your name. One more time. Hakumai Sensei desu. That's where you say your name. Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try to throw the slides up on the screen and see how that looks to you all. So, popping that up right now. Okay. Just to make this a really simple class, I'm reusing some slides that I made right in the middle of a slideshow, so there's no introduction. Let's just jump right into it. If you want to say I'm hungry in Japanese, first of all, there's more than one way to do it, just like there is in English. Of course, if we just said the same thing every day, every time we got hungry, I think life would be boring. So just like that, in Japanese, you can say I'm hungry, I'm starving, I'm famished. There's all sorts of ways to say it. Let's try the most basic way. The basic way to say you're hungry is not even to say you're hungry at all. It would literally be talking about your stomach and that it got empty. Now, the way we say that in Japanese, I'm going to show you here. Onaka means your stomach. Say that after me once. Onaka, onaka. And what about your stomach? Well, it got empty. And so the set phrase that you would say is onaka ga suita. Suita is the past tense of the verb suku, which means become empty. So you put it all together. One more time, repeat after me. Onaka ga suita. Onaka ga suita. But the cool thing about Japanese is the more casual you are, the more friendly you sound. So we're going to drop the ga altogether, just like most Japanese do when they're around their friends. And it would sound something like this. Onaka suita. Onaka suita. And if you don't say it with that excruciating hunger pain, it doesn't sound real to your friends. So one more time, just repeat after me. Onaka suita. You got it? That's exactly how people in Japan let their friends know that they're hungry. But it does sound a little plain Jane, I'm hungry, okay? Now, for the guys in the audience, it's a little bit easier to sound tough, rough, and scruff, okay? Now, guys would say, instead of onaka ga suita or onaka suita, they would say hara ga hetta. Hara ga hetta. And to me, that sounds like you're replacing onaka, which is like a polite way to talk about your stomach, with more like you're talking about your guts. Your hara, right? Hara. Hara, you might have heard this word before if you've heard of harakiri. Harakiri is the way that Japanese samurai would disembowel themselves, to literally cut their innards, right? To disembowel themselves. That is one way to commit suicide if you're dishonored samurai in the battlefield. But harakiri, right? Your guts. So hara ga hetta. Now, hetta, just like suita, is the past tense of a verb, but hetta, heru, means to decrease or become less than. So in other words, to literally say hara ga hetta would translate into my innards have decreased. Does that make sense? One more time. Let's try this right after me and make it sound as tough and scruff as you can. Hara hetta! Hara hetta! Or you could even be more like trying to express that everybody's probably hungry and you want some agreement from your friends. Hara hetta na! Hara hetta na! And if you add that na, it's almost like from all this work we've been doing today, getting hungry. So for all those guys or gals that are working with you, hara hetta na! All right, so your innards decreased. You need some stamina. All right? So again, for you girls out there watching the lesson, I don't want to discourage you from saying this completely, but I will say this. It doesn't sound very ladylike. It's more of a masculine way to say stuff. And in the Japanese language, that's a common theme that you're going to hear over and over again. So one more time. Hara hetta! Now, it looks like I might have dropped my session for a second. Is everybody still there? I'm going to try to refresh the view here. Okay, well, it looks like I'm still streaming. If anybody's out there, can you confirm whether or not the session is still up? All right. So let me jump to the next slide here. Actually, first I'm going to, like I mentioned before, there's a literal definition here. Onaka or hara, right? Both refers to the same thing. It refers to your stomach or your innards. And instead of saying that you are hungry, it's not necessarily a word for hungry that Japanese people usually say. So it's more about talking about that the inside of you has become empty. All right? So, onaka suita or hara hetta. And you should say this literally, all right? Right before you're ready to go out and get some food. Or to express that you are ready to go out and get some food. All right? And the more exaggerated you say, hara hetta, the more people will understand you're serious about going to get some grub. Okay? All right. Of course, questions will be best asked during the Microsoft Teams sessions to follow. So if you have any questions, make sure to jot them down on your notebooks or something so you can ask me later. And don't worry, when we get into Microsoft Teams, I'm going to call on you to try to ask those questions. Okay. So there's a couple of things on the topic of food, on the topic of being hungry, that I wanted to introduce, and that's the main flavors that we deal with. And they're pretty much all E adjectives. For those of you who have studied E adjectives, this should be a breeze for you. But let's talk about the flavors on the tongue, all right? So for something sweet, pretty easy one here. Amai. Amai. Repeat after me. Amai. Okay, so that's things that are sweet. For example, a strawberry, sugar, candy, all kinds of good stuff like that. It also can be used for wines and sake that's sweet, or in other words, not dry. So it's the opposite of dry. Amai. Okay, I'll say it at Japanese speed and try to say it at Japanese speed after me. Amai. Amai. Now, if you're really exaggerating how sweet something is, go ahead and give me a amai. Amai. It's almost too sweet. Hey, thanks for joining, by the way. I see we have 2 folks ready to go, but or maybe not. Sable, well, thank you for joining. Hope to see you next time. Okay, let's go to the next flavor on the tongue here. We have spicy. Now, if you're like me, you're always looking for the next delicious spicy food. So let's try this at slow speed. Karai. Karai. And that's for spicy foods and also for dry wines or for soda or things like that that have sort of a bite from the carbonation. Karai. Okay? So I'm going to say it at Japanese speed. Karai. Karai. Okay? Say it after me. Karai. And this is one of those things that, some people are pretty uncomfortable when they eat spicy food. So you got to be convincing. If something is really spicy, karai ne! Karai ne! And that ne is asking for the people around you, if they've eaten the same thing to agree with you. Karai ne! It's spicy, isn't it? Awesome. So again, dry wines, dry lagers like Asahi Super Dry is referred to as karai as well. All right, the next flavor, as you can see with the little poor baby's face, he's just eaten a lemon, and that is sour. So Japanese language, that is suppai. Okay? Now, you'll notice over here that the P is a double consonant. And so what happens when you pronounce that, it's suppai. Suppai. So you almost have to pause and punctuate that double P sound. One more time. Japanese speed, suppai. And that's your sour stuff. And last but not least on this, I also like salty foods. So this was one of my enjoyable flavors on the tongue. That is shoppai. Shoppai. And once again, you have the double P consonant sound. So double P gives sort of that hard stop there. So shoppai. Shoppai. Got it? At Japanese speed, it's almost like shoppai. Shoppai. All right? So there's more flavors and things we can talk about, but this is just an example lesson. Like I said, we're just jumping in the middle of it. So the last thing I want to tell you today is how to say that you are full after you've had all sorts of yummy, spicy, sweet, sour, whatever. You've had your dessert, hopefully sweet and not sour for dessert. And you need to say that you are full. So once again, we're going to jump back to that. Do you remember how to say stomach? Okay, it's not, we don't necessarily say the scientific word for stomach in Japanese, but it's more like your innards, your insides. That's onaka. Onaka. Okay? So after you've eaten your fair share of food and you couldn't possibly have another bite, it's just going to sound like this. Onaka ga ippai. Onaka ga ippai. And once again, for those of you who have already heard of what a particle is here, this ga, okay? A lot of Japanese people, when they talk about being hungry or full, they just drop the particle out altogether. So it's going to sound more like this. Onaka ippai. Onaka ippai. Okay, repeat after me. Onaka ippai. And the more uncomfortable you say that, the more you sound excruciatingly full, the more it's convincing. And that means literally, right, that your stomach, your inside, has become full. Ippai is the word for full. And literally, I'm full, right? Yeah, well, that's the English translation. And when would you say that? At the end of a meal or after you've stuffed your face at a party. Maybe you've done one of those yakiniku all-you-can-eats, and you couldn't possibly even finish the ice cream that you ordered at the end of the meal. That's when you would say, onaka ippai. Onaka ippai. Got it? Hopefully you're following along and you're actually speaking these words out loud. Remember, you're not going to get any better at Japanese if you don't actually say the stuff. So I'll give you one more chance to repeat after me. Onaka ippai. And again, you're convincing your friends or the people you just ate with that you are full. Cool. Well, that just about wraps up the test lesson. And the next thing I wanted to do was to scoot this over to a Microsoft Teams session, because when I do the class every Tuesday as I'm planning, at the end of every class, I'm going to open up a Microsoft Teams session so that people get the chance to talk to me so that your sensei can hear you pronounce the words if you want to. And if time permits, we may even get a chance to interact with other students so I can have you working together and do some conversational stuff. So if you are still in the session, I want to invite you over to the Microsoft Teams session. And to do that, let me just go ahead and copy the link into the chat here. Oh, and Jaime, this time I'm not gonna copy the slides up anywhere, but if you want to watch it again, this is just gonna be on the YouTube channel. In the future, what I'll do is I'll export all the slides out to a PDF and then I'll put them up on my website. So if you're still watching and you're interested to try the Microsoft Teams session, I've posted the link. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoot over. Hopefully this will work here. Give me 1 second. Now, anybody out there with Teams, if you could give it a shot and try to join that team session, that'd be really cool. I started the session now, so it should be up and available. Is anybody still connected and able to try to join that team session? Okay. Let me see if I can get it up here. Of course, I ask all you all to try to join the team session, and now I can't even join it. One more second here. Knock, knock. Hello. Konbanwa. All right. I'm just going to wait for a quick second to try to get other people in. I'm going to go ahead and mute myself. 1 sec. All right. So this is migrating over to Microsoft Teams. The link, once again, is in the chat, but I'm going to paste it one more time. And for those of you who are here in the still in the YouTube lesson, go ahead and click over on that link, and you should pop into the Teams session, and I should be able to add you in. So hopefully you enjoyed this lesson. It's going to get better, not worse, I hope. And we will see you next time. So I'm going to sign off from this. Thank you. And Jaime, when MS Teams goes away, I don't know. I'll figure it out, though. We'll do Skype, or we'll do Zoom, or whatever it takes. Alrighty? All right, signing off here.